Hello, welcome back to Thursdays Live. Today we are talking all about why 2021 is the year of the Ultra. Races are coming back, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're all feeling a lot more positive about the rest of the year. So why not take on an Ultra? And we've got the fantastic Sam joining us, who took on an Ultra herself with us, talking all about that. So we've got loads of questions from you guys that we're going to answer. But if you've got any more, then please do send them in and we'll do our best to answer them. Just requested to go live. Countdown is on. Hello? I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I'm coming.
How weird. I can hear you. I've never had that before.
I'm kind of glad because I started trying to eat some food. What's going on?
Still my face taking up the whole screen.
Oh,
Hello.
there we go. There we are.
Yeah. Oh, I like your jumper.
Thank you.
Very nice, very nice. How are you?
I'm good, love. How are you? Is Steve there?
Good. He's actually downstairs because he was being a terror. I did have him up here, but I've got loads of cables by my feet and he just chews them. So he's gone to sit downstairs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Say again, sorry?
Thanks. So I was just eating one of these.
Oh, the best.
Fave, I think. Or is it the white one?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we shall get cracking because we only have 30 minutes. So tell us a bit about you.
Yeah. Hi, guys. First of all, thanks so much for having me.
Anytime.
A bit about me. So I am a personal trainer currently. Is everything okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Currently an online coach because obviously we can't PT right now. But I love the face-to-face stuff, and I guess I specialize in strength training and lifestyle changes. So I help people kind of tone up as such. I don't know why my phone keeps dimming down. Sorry. I help people with their physiques and achieve their physique-based goals, but I do it through strength training. I do it by showing people how strong they are, and whether that's introducing them to strength training or helping them get stronger. And that's kind of developed into now more performance-based goals. So especially because of lockdown, a lot of people have gotten into running, or for some it's gotten them into triathlons and all kinds of things. And now I'm helping a lot of people introduce strength training to that element of training as well. So I've been on a bit of a journey as a coach as well as personally the last year. So yeah, I guess that's a summary. I like dogs as well.
Great. Yeah, I mean, we're big into dogs here. If Steve was up there, he'd be fully involved. And tell us a bit about your Ultra experience. Obviously, it was quite recently. It was with us, but tell us a bit more about it.
So I've actually just moved from Manchester to London, literally at the end of January, as you do during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Within the first week, that was actually when I did my Ultra. I did it round London. We had to do it virtually. But you approached me and essentially just asked if I was up for a challenge. And straight away, I just thought, oh, God, I know what's coming here. I did my first ever Ultra. Was it last month?
I think it was January, no? Was it?
Jan. So,
yeah.
Jan. And before that, I'd actually only ever ran as far as 14k. And even that was an achievement. Like, that was a one-off for me. So really not a long distance runner. But the reason why I said yes, and I think when you asked me, we had about 9 weeks of training, which is not a long time, but I knew that the upside for me was that I'd done a lot of strength training. I was actually training for a triathlon, which is again all new to me, but I've just taken on a lot of challenges recently. I've tried to push myself outside of my comfort zone, and I was just physically, I was ready for the training. So I might not have been necessarily ready for the ultra, but I was like primed and ready to go for the training. So all I had to do really was just put in the miles essentially. And I say all that I had to do, that obviously didn't make it easy. But you know what? I did it. Like I did an ultra. I didn't hit the 50k sadly. I got to 45, but honestly, the fact that I ran 45, never done a marathon before, let alone an ultra, and yeah, did it in the space of 9 weeks. So that's a very summarized version of that journey. Short version. There were a lot of tears, a lot of pain. But honestly, I am so glad that I said yes to that. And thank you and thanks to you guys to actually getting me involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll dig a little bit more into it anyway. But we have touched on this a little bit. And apart from the fact that you were primed and kind of ready, and obviously you're quite big into challenges anyway, why did you say yes? What was it about the ultra marathon that kind of enticed you?
Oh, it was just a huge test of what I was capable of, I guess. I think the last year before, to try and keep it as short as possible, before the start of last year, I was just your typical, like, I just did strength training, but it was very like bodybuilding style, very like, that was the only thing I did. Didn't run, didn't have a bike, couldn't swim and nothing. And at the start of last year, I kind of agreed to a swimming challenge. Again, like, I'm not going to go into too much detail with all of it, but I said yes. I kept saying yes to things that I'd never done and was never good at. And this last year, the journey that's taken me on, the journey of putting myself outside of my comfort zone and showing and proving to myself that actually I can do so much more than what I've been doing the last few years. When you do that once, when someone then says, or when something else comes about and they say, do you want to do this? You're like, well, I did that and proved myself that I could do so much more then. So what else can I do? And it was just like, every time someone approaches me now, I'm just thinking, well, I've done that and I've done that. And I never thought I'd do those things. So yeah, when you guys said about the ultra, I just thought I was enjoying running. I don't think unless someone had put me in that position, I wouldn't have done it. And I'm so glad that I did. So I almost just encourage people to just take on something so much bigger. Like, obviously within reason, like, don't be unrealistic, but actually just show. I just wanted to do it because I thought I could. If I can do that, then wow, like the feeling that you get, and I think the journey as well, like the day itself and the event itself is all kinds of emotions, and like so good that it's done, but also like the journey itself just teaches you so much about like you as a person, but also what you're physically capable of if you really like can challenge yourself. I can't recommend it enough.
You do, you go through so much. You think that all the change is going to be physical and like in your fitness levels and potentially your body type, but actually there's so much mental change that goes on behind the scenes. There's so much you learn from taking on these massive challenges. And in the sense of the ultra world, you're out there for hours at the weekend by yourself with nothing but you and your thoughts, and actually that's could be quite a difficult place to be, especially when you're challenging yourself. And it does teach you so much, and it makes you realize how much you're capable of. And actually taking it back into real life, you think, well, there's a load of emails in my inbox, or I've got a manic day at work, but actually last week I ran for 4 hours, and if I can do that, then what else can I do? Exactly as you said. And I think that's so important to recognize, whether you're taking on a triathlon or a ultra marathon or a marathon or a half marathon, whatever it might be, something that is kind of long distance. It does so much.
I mean, that's actually exactly why I've moved down here. Like, I've moved from Manchester to London during a pandemic, and it wasn't something that was massively planned either. This kind of happened because throughout the last year I've been saying yes to things and pushing myself outside of my comfort zone so much that it's actually really made me step my game up in my personal life and my business and my career. I now have moved to a completely new city, because I want more and because I've realised I can do so much more than what I've been doing. So yeah, 100% agree with that. It's the same with any kind of physical training. I think, you know, it's very often we look at even performance-based goals, which are amazing to achieve, but what that does to our confidence and what that does to our like personal growth is so valuable. And yeah, 100%, that's been probably the biggest thing I can take away from this, other than like serious DOMs.
Yeah, they're pretty bad the next day. And what is it that excites you about endurance events? You know, these are big challenges, they're big feats, they require a lot of hours, they, you know, they take a lot from both your kind of training life and your personal life. And I think I always say you kind of have to be excited before you begin, because if you're not excited about the training, if you're not excited about the hours that you've got to put in, then you're really starting in a difficult place. So what is it that kind of excites you about taking on these challenges?
Again, I think it goes back to, like, I didn't just say yes to an ultra all of a sudden. Like, it wasn't like I was doing nothing beforehand. Like, it's, don't get me wrong, like, I think compared to a lot of people you may have interviewed, like, you know, they may have done a few of these events in the past, or even just done a half marathon, let alone a marathon or an ultra. So for anyone listening, like, I'm very new to all of this stuff. But for me, like, again, like, over the last year, I've been saying to these things that have like gradually pushed me further and further outside of my comfort zone. And that has excited me along the way. So, and each time it just makes me wonder, what can I do that I haven't already been doing? Like, what else can I get my body to do? So if you're already in that mindset and then someone then says, do you want to do this? You're just like, you know what? Like, try not to swear here, but you're just like, yeah, like, fucking hell, I've been doing all this stuff the last year, then surely I can put myself through that. And I think what excites me is that is yeah, like, proving to yourself that you can do so much more. And the thing that really I've really loved about the training element is that I've been doing strength training a long time, and I think without really realizing, I was kind of not falling out of love, but just getting a little bit complacent with it. And the minute I started training for like these events for the ultra, I then fell in love with strength training again, because I had something to be strong for. Um, and obviously, like, the pandemic has made things a little bit hard and a little bit sluggish and a little bit slow at times. But other than that, like, I've just found this new motivation to just, you know, you have to, every session counts, right? So you can't not turn up. Even if you don't have the best session ever, you know that you've got to make it happen. And yeah, I think that's what excites me, just having that goal and having that huge accountability, because you can't wing that. You can't. There's some things that you say yes to, and you could probably, if you were to really push yourself, do it without training, right? You could just do it. Whereas some ultra, something like a massive endurance event, you can't mess about with that. Like, and that goes for nutrition as well. Like, you know, even my strength training sessions, I could probably get away with being a bit half-assed with food. Like, I've been doing it for a while now, so it doesn't take it out of me the way a run would, for example. And yeah, you've just got to be so on it. And I think if that's your thing, and that's something you're passionate about, then that just gives you that extra drive to put more effort into those things. Like, you can't half-ass it if you're gonna run for freaking hours on end when you know even half of that. So yeah, I think that's what inspired me, for sure.
100%. Just made me laugh and got a bit of toast that I just eaten in my okay, let's jump into some of the questions that were sent in. We had quite a few. A lot of them were a little bit repetitive. I say a lot of them. Some of them were a bit repetitive, but so I've pulled a few of those, but lots of good ones. So I'm going to crack on. Let's start with this one, actually, because it is one that we get asked quite a lot, especially when we have kind of people who are relatively new to the sport. But I quite like it because everyone seems to have something a little bit different, like something that they learned. So what's the best advice you could give someone taking on their first ultra?
Best advice? Yeah, just be willing to show up every time, no matter what. I think what I learned from, so at the start of last year I took on a swimming challenge, and I couldn't swim, which is hilarious. Like, it was an open water swimming challenge, and I couldn't do front crawl, and I had to be able to front crawl in Glasgow in open water in like a space of 3 months, if that. I think it was like maybe 10 weeks. And I knew I was going to hate it. I hate swimming as well. I don't know why I said yes to this thing, but it's one of the best things I said yes to. And the reason I'm telling you this is because what I said to myself at the start of that is that I knew definitely at the start I was going to hate every single session. I wasn't going to enjoy it because I hate swimming. But I said before going in, I was like, I know I'm going to hate it, so I have to commit to 3 sessions a week, no matter what. No matter how bad the last session went, no matter how frustrated I was because I couldn't swim, no matter how annoyed I was at the fact that everyone around me was casually swimming and I couldn't even breathe. And that really rubbed off into this training for the ultra. It was like, no matter what, I have to show up to these runs because, like I just said, like, you can't wing it. So if you're going to commit to this, like, be willing to like show up when it's raining and it's cold and it's horrible, which most of our training was because it was during winter. And the day itself was miserable for me. Like, it was so gross. It did not stop at any point. Did it stop raining? I was just like, can it just just for 2 minutes would have been nice. But actually, because I showed up when it was cold, it was snowing, it was icy, like, I showed up to every single run, and I think that prepared me for the day. And on the day, actually, like, my IT band went about 20k in, and I managed to still do 45k. And honestly, like, mentally, I don't know where that came from, because in the past I don't think I would have pushed myself that hard. But I think because of the commitment, and I just did not want to stop. And yeah, that's my best advice, is to just, before you go into the training, like, commit to it 100%. There's no, I think with some things you can easily, I'm very much an advocate, by the way, like, if anyone follows me or knows me, I'm an advocate of, like, looking after your body, not going crazy when you shouldn't be going crazy, all of that stuff. But something as big as an ultra, like, you've got to accept that you're going to have to put the work in, and you can't miss those sessions, or if you're tired, then you've got to figure out why you're tired, eat better, go to sleep. You've got to quickly fix those things. So I just think, that would be my advice.
100%. Such good advice as well. And like you said, there's no kind of getting away with stuff with these events. You really have got to give it your everything and be prepared for every situation, whether it's bad weather, bad stomach, bad route, anything can happen. So by showing up each time, you're likely to kind of experience a number of those things along the way. So if it does happen on race day, you're kind of prepared for it and ready for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone has said, and I actually quite like this one, it's quite niche, but I'm on the fence whether to sign up, but worried I may let myself down or not enjoy it as much as I think I will. Do you have any advice?
Again, I think it's so important to appreciate that the journey itself is probably what you're going to remember more than the race. Like, yeah. And the experience and the growth that you'll get from that, whether it goes well on the day or not. Like, I am not the person who came out on top on this. Like, I didn't hit my 50k. But that being said, I do not feel like I let myself down. I ran 45k. That was, let me try and do some quick math. That was 25k, 35k further than I'd ever ran. So I am not disappointed with myself. I'm not going to beat myself up because I didn't do an extra 5k that would have taken another hour. Like, when I realized that was it for me. But
yeah,
I just, it's so, I think if it scares you, then do it, because if it didn't scare you, then it, like I said, it could probably be something that you could just do tomorrow if you were to really force yourself to. And for me, like, those challenges that I've been taking on the last year, every single one of them I've been like, what am I doing? But if that's excitement, like sometimes it's easy to, like, yes, you're probably scared, but try and turn that into excitement and try and use that to your advantage. Use it as a positive and be like, again, like if you're going to do it though, you have to commit to it and be ready. But if you have, like I said, if you show up to every single session, then you've done your absolute best. What I said to myself was like, if I miss sessions and then I do the run and then I like it doesn't work out or whatever happens, then I can kind of be annoyed because like there's some sessions I missed out on and maybe didn't focus on nutrition or mobility like I should have done. But actually, if I give absolutely everything during the training and it still doesn't work out the way I want, I'm okay with that because I did my absolute best. And I think that's what's important to remember. I think just go for it, like, and just make sure you put the work in, and and just do your absolute best. I think on the day, your mind, especially when you've committed to something, will get you through a lot.
Yeah. You're right. It's so powerful, that kind of like making a deal with yourself that you're going to do something. It really does drive you and motivate you a lot more than you think it will. With these long distance events, so much can go wrong, as we've talked about. How did you deal with it when it did?
So for me, it was obviously my IT ban kicked in, which I kind of knew was going to happen. I was just hoping it didn't happen as soon. And for me, that comes from an old Achilles injury. So my left leg has got like half the strength of my right. So my left leg was always going to bail out before the other one. But again, like, because of all the training sessions I'd shown up to and all the times that, you know, as the distances got a bit further and further during the training, I would start to feel it. And I think, like, on the day, there's an element of, like, if it was training and, like, during the training, if my IT band flared up, I'd just stop. Like, it's not worth trying to do an extra 2 or 3K just for training. But on the day, when I know that this is, like, right, this is the time now, like, I pushed myself 20K further than I would have done if it was training. And I think, and for me, like, everything else was fine. Like, because of the experience that I gained through the training sessions, through doing longer runs and practicing nutrition and doing things like, you know, better warm-ups and like really things that I've taken it for granted in the past. Like, I practiced those things and knew kind of how to get myself a little bit further each time without the pain. So again, I think it just comes through experience and just showing up to those training sessions and committing to those training sessions isn't just about like gaining a better performance each time. Like, you're not aiming for a PB every time you go out and train. It's actually about what you're learning each time you go out. So every performance isn't necessarily going to be your best run ever, but actually it could be one of your worst runs, but you learn from it. And then I think that's all those experiences you build up over time are what are going to help you on the day. So yeah, for me, it was just like trying to remember the stuff that I'd done on training runs, and also just being like, you know what, I've trained quite hard for this now. I'm just going to try and give my absolute all. So that's how I dealt with it. Just smile and carry on.
Suck it up, basically.
Keep calm and carry on, and that's the one.
What should I go to next? Okay.
Good questions, though.
Great questions, yeah. If you could change one thing about your training for the ultra, what would it have been?
Some of the days it could have been a bit warmer. I was running in all sorts. It was, yeah. I think for I obviously a little bit longer would have been nice. But honestly, I for me, that was the first time doing anything like that, and I honestly don't think I could have done any better. I think maybe I could have done a bit more mobility work. But no, I feel like I embraced it. I ran with friends. I got them to help me out. I feel like I feel quite proud of what I achieved. I think if I were to do it again, I just, yeah, focus on a bit more single leg work. But I did that, yeah. I honestly don't think, based on the time I was given, the experience I'd had previous to that, I'm pretty proud of what I did, and I don't think I would have changed it. I think if I was to do it again, I'd just hope that my previous experience would just add to what I'm already doing and just be consistent with it. I think sometimes there's no need to overcomplicate things. I think just doing it and being consistent is the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to jump back to me now. Yeah. Actually, just quickly, seeing as we touched on, would you do another?
Give me a time. No, do you know what? I think I would. Yeah, I would, because I want to. Again, like, I'm not disappointed with what I did at all, because I genuinely 45k for me was a freaking big deal. So I'm not annoyed with myself, but I definitely think that, yeah, the mental challenge that you are forced to take on is a big one, and I've taken a lot from these big challenges. These are things that I am not necessarily great at or a natural in, and yeah, I'd say so.
That's what we like to hear. That's all I needed from you. Expect an email from me later. So, in fact, someone has just sent in a question.
Yeah.
100 km ultra in May. How many days a week training would you advise, and what distance? I think Sam will probably say the same as me, in that we unfortunately don't know a great deal about your lifestyle or your current training volume or where you're at currently with running. But if you wanted to drop Sam a private message or us guys a private message, I'm sure we'll be able to point you in the direction of either us pointing you in the direction of someone, or Sam, I'm sure, will be able to have a much better conversation with you around what your training might look like. Okay. We talked a little bit about it. 2021 did not start the way. Can you hear Steve, by the way?
He's so cute. Hi, Steve.
He's like, why did you let me get involved, guys? So
I'm gonna pretend that it's me he's talking to.
2021 didn't have the best start, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Races are making a comeback. Why would 2021 be the perfect year to take on your first, I mean, we're saying ultra, but endurance event? Everyone has spent, the last year or so banking miles that maybe they wouldn't have done if we hadn't been in this type of pandemic. So why would you say yes now?
I think purely for the fact that we can.
Yeah. Why not?
We've been able to do a lot of things lately, and I think I've been saying yes to whatever I can. Again, obviously we're not going to be unrealistic. We're not going to say yes to things that just aren't within your reach. There's obviously a fine line between the two. But yeah, I think just say yes because you can. And honestly, I think I just love when people just go beyond what they imagined they could do. I think the confidence I've gotten from doing things I never thought I'd do has just genuinely changed my life. It's genuinely made me move to another city because I feel like I can do more. And I think, yeah, if you're on the fence, that's exactly the reason you should do it.
100%. You never regret these things. You might regret them, on one of your long training tempo runs, but
you always regret them.
I don't know. Once you cross that finish line, the medal's around your neck. I think you're all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question. We always ask this one. What is next for you?
What's next? So obviously I had a bit of a rest. But I'm currently, I'm a bit of a hybrid type person. I like to be not amazing at one thing, but pretty good at a lot of things. So strength training I love, running I've gotten into. The next goal is a triathlon. definitely going to get involved in an ultra once it builds up again. I'm just working on a lot of like specific strength work to help with things like IT band and my skinny leg strength. But yeah, just aiming to get fitter, faster, stronger, really. And then whatever challenge I get roped into, I'm more than happy to get involved in. So yeah, a triathlon hopefully. Need to get on the bike.
Yeah.
And then definitely an ultra. Maybe I'd love to do one where it's an actual race. Obviously, we had to do a virtual one this time, and I actually think that was a really good introduction. So for anyone who's worried about if worst case scenario we have to do virtual again, luckily I have to give a shout out actually to Tamara. I don't know if she's listening to this, but Tamara jumped in with me very last minute on an ultra. Like, who does that?
What a legend.
Agony, right? But she was brilliant and just could have carried on. So huge shout out to Tamara for that, because that's pretty epic from her.
Yeah. Clara, get yourself signed up.
Yeah, she was actually 100% up for Sri Lanka, by the way. So yeah, I lots of things. I hope. I just want to say yes to everything right now, within reason.
I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Let's do it.
It was lovely to chat with you. So nice to chat and a catch up. I'm sorry it's Steve to make it. But I'm sure I will speak to you again very, very soon. But until then,
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, love, and thanks so much for having me. And yeah, hope to see you guys soon.
Indeed. Bye.
Bye.